Welcome to Forsage, a fully decentralized and immutable crowdfunding platform for any purpose. While this statement may not mean much to you at the moment, we are certain that by the end of this short video, you will surely understand the financial power this technology offers that did not exist just a few short months ago. Forsage could not have been more perfectly timed. It originally launched on the Ethereum network in January 2020. About a month before the global health crisis. It will take years to understand the full scope of the economic devastation, but without question, there are currently millions out of work and in desperate financial need. Small businesses are likewise paying a heavy financial price during this crisis. This is why Forsage will soon prove to be the single greatest financial lifeline to help millions through this worldwide crisis and beyond. We fully understand that your time is valuable and in short supply. You are most likely nervous about your current financial situation and fearful of the future. That's precisely why we created this video and are encouraged that you are here. Forsage recently released this PDF document that fully explains their platform, but we know that you probably don't have the time or energy left to fully absorb its powerful contents. Therefore, sit back, relax, and let us quickly explain the most important information you could be receiving right now. Let's start with the big picture, and then we'll drill down to the details. What is Forsage? It's a peer-to-peer crowdfunding platform that utilizes Tron to transfer payments from a contributor to a campaign. Why Tron? Because of its inexpensive transaction fees and support of smart contracts in its protocol. Smart contracts are automated agreements between parties based on an if this, then that set of rules. If you ever logged into a website, you are already familiar with this concept. If you enter the correct password, then the site will grant you access. This contractual feature of Tron has endless applications. Any financial, legal, organizational, or procedural matter can be automated where human interaction is omitted from the contractual process and the agreement is recorded on the Tron blockchain. Forsage is crowdfunding technology, which is similar to Kickstarter, Indiegogo, GoFundMe, and countless others, but far from equal. Traditional platforms regulate campaigns, control funds, and retain a significant percentage fee for providing the service. Forsage, on the other hand, is a direct peer-to-peer or contributor-to-campaign service with zero cost. They do not regulate or control campaigns, and the funds raised can be used for any purpose. Let me say that again. You can raise funds for any financial need you may have without restriction. Forsage does not care who you are, why you need the funds, or set a time frame on any campaign. You can start today with the fundamental purpose of raising funds for your next meal. Additional contributions could pay for some of your urgent bills. As you begin to share this platform with others in need, who in turn start their own campaigns, those additional funds into your campaign could build up to pay all of your monthly bills, rent, mortgage, pay for repairs on your car, or buy a new vehicle, save for a vacation, start or expand a business, satisfy payroll, lease and insurance obligations, and the list goes on and on. Forsage literally means to give up or relinquish. The creators generously built the platform and gave it freely to the people. The automated Tron smart contract protocol is what establishes transparency and decentralized trust between users. Once it was deployed, it became immutable, which means it can never be changed by the creators. But what this really means is that no one on the planet can ever take away your ability to raise funds for any need, ever. This is crowdfunding 2.0, where these traditional services will soon be reevaluating their business model. And while Forsage is the first to think outside the box in crowdfunding, they certainly will not be the last. While you may not have ever heard of Forsage until today, as of the creation of this video, almost 1 million people have and have already launched their campaigns on the platform. The most confusion surrounding Forsage resides in fully understanding their platform. What you are looking at is the entire structure of their platform. It is divided into 3 programs, X3, X4, and XGold. The confusion stems from what you cannot see from this view, which is what I'm about to explain. First, you will notice 15 slots, as Forsage calls them, in each of the programs with a specific amount of Tron associated with each slot. This ranges from 100 Tron to about 1.1 million Tron in the X3 and X4 programs, and 200 Tron to 1.3 million Tron in XGold. When you launch your campaign on Forsage, the smart contract automatically separates your 400 Tron into each of the programs respectively. The purpose of this is to unlock the first slot in each of the programs. Your campaign can now receive an endless number of contributions in each of these slots. Let me say that again so you don't miss its importance. For the rest of your life, you now have the ability to generate funds for any purpose that can never be taken away from you. Looking at the X3 program, when you receive 2 100 Tron contributions, you can direct those funds towards unlocking the second slot, which now allows you to receive 200 Tron contributions, or twice the amount of Tron as slot 1. The same process occurs in X4. And you can even take funds from one program to unlock the next highest slot in another. The goal here is obvious. You want to receive larger and larger contributions of Tron, which simply translate into aggregating as much Tron as possible for your campaign that can in turn be exchanged for fiat currency and spent as you wish. This is the 30,000-foot view of what Forsage is really all about. For about the cost of a fast food meal, you instead decide to launch a campaign with those funds. And as you work through this unlocking process, you progress from receiving a few dollars worth of Tron to hundreds, thousands, and eventually tens of thousands of dollars worth of Tron again and again. It's really that simple. The smart contract automatically includes your campaign in each of the X3, X4, and XGold platforms, but it's entirely your choice which platforms best fit your campaign's needs and goals. Now let's drill down to more of the specifics of how this technically works and clear up all the confusion encircling the structure of the Forsage platform. We're going to take a look at slot 1 in the X3 program, but everything you are about to learn applies to all the slots in all 3 programs. Forsage maintains anonymity with its users through only identifying them with an ID number. Here you see ID number 1, which was the very first Tron-based campaign launched on the platform in September 2020. At the time of this screenshot, you can see ID number 1 received 249,000 Tron with the associated USD value. Clicking on the right or left arrows scrolls through the various slots. It is this graphical structure with circles and dashed lines that is causing all the confusion. When people see this, they automatically think matrix. Do you notice that ID 2 occupies 2 of these contributor records? Keep that in mind. While there are relational connections between contributors and campaigns, Forsage should not be confused with a matrix. The history function holds the key to unlocking this mystery. Next to the up or down arrows, which scroll forward or back in history respectively, you will notice the number 1198. This records how many times this exact structure you are looking at, and nothing more, has been reset. If we click the down arrow, we go back in time. But wait a minute, why is ID number 2 occupying yet another of these contributor records, and the other ID numbers are not in any chronological order? Or if we keep clicking the down arrow to the very beginning of ID number 1's campaign, where is ID number 3? This is a snapshot of ID number 1's slot 1 list of contributions. At the bottom of this list are the first 3 contribution transaction records shown on the previous screen from ID number 2, 4, and 5, but just in a spreadsheet format. But look at this vertical list of IDs. As you work up the list from the bottom, again, we see that ID number 3 is missing, along with ID number 6. If Forsage was truly a matrix, these ID numbers would be listed in chronological order with absolutely no gaps. Let's take another look at this structure, but this time from a different perspective. Imagine you are ID number 2 and launched a campaign on Forsage. Awesome, you just received your first contribution. That Tron contribution will equate to unlocking 50% of your next highest slot, as previously discussed. The next contribution your campaign receives will equate to the other 50%. You now have 100% of the Tron needed to unlock your next highest slot, which in this example is slot number 2, where the smart contract will automatically do so upon sending it peer-to-peer to ID number 1 in this case. When the third supporter contributes to your campaign, which goes to ID number 1 in this example, the smart contract automatically resets this slot. Now every contribution your campaign receives in these first 2 record locations from this point forward can be utilized as you see fit. You can use them to unlock other slots in either X3, X4, or XGold, or send the funds through your Tron exchange and convert it to fiat currency and spend it. When the third contribution comes in, again, these slots reset, allowing for more contributions. Now let's walk through this process once more, only this time I want you to visualize it 3-dimensionally. Here is the first contribution to your campaign, utilized for unlocking 50% of your next slot. The second provides the other 50%, where the smart contract automatically unlocks the next slot. The third resets the slot, creating an entirely new structure. Now the contributions are directed into your campaign. And the third contribution resets the slot, thereby creating another new structure. Now, what is the connection between all of these repeating structures? Time. This structure resets again and again, allowing you to receive an endless number of contributions that you now have full control of how you wish to utilize the funding. Congratulations. Here's your first award because you now understand this better than most people. The X4 structure is a little different, but automatically works in the exact same way. The first 2 contributions go to ID number 1 in this example. The next 2 unlock your next highest slot. The 5th goes directly into your campaign, and the 6th resets the slot by sending the funds to ID number 1 in this example. Once unlocked, all 3 of the contributions in blue go directly into your campaign. And just like X3, the X4 structure resets again and again, allowing for you to receive an endless number of contributions that you have full control of how you wish to utilize the funding. XGold simply expands on the X4 structure, where there are 30 contribution records that automatically work in a similar way. The first 2 contributions go to ID number 1 in this example. Your campaign receives 20% of each contribution in the next series of transactions. It will receive 30% of each contribution in the next series, and 50% of each contribution in the final series. And at the far right of the final series of transactions, you will see 2 reset contributions, each of which account for 50% of the exact structure's reset and go to ID number 1 in this example. And just like X3 and X4, the XGold structure resets again and again, allowing for you to receive an endless number of contributions that you have full control of how you wish to utilize the funding. As a reminder, the smart contract automatically includes your campaign in each of the X3, X4, and XGold platforms, but it's entirely your choice which platforms best fit your campaign's needs and goals. Now when you look back at this overall view of the X3 program in Forsage, or any of the programs for that matter, 2 things should come to mind. The first is that these circles and lines are not positions in some matrix, but rather just a record of contribution transactions in the spreadsheet view and where those funds are going. We know this from previously witnessing ID number 2 occupying 2 of these locations. In fact, ID number 2, or any ID number for that matter, can occupy any or all of these contribution locations depending on how fast they themselves are resetting. The faster they reset their contribution slot, the more times they will appear. This was verified when ID number 2 occupied multiple contribution locations in the ID list. If this is so, then that technically means that any ID can fall into any or all of these locations based on reset frequency. But most importantly, because there are only a record of contribution transactions, not a representation of some matrix placement. Additional support of this truth is that ID number 2 shows up quite often in ID number 1's list of transactions, as shown in this small snapshot of ID number 1's contribution records. The second thing that should now be blatantly obvious is that this demonstrates proof that Forsage is not a matrix. If it's not a matrix, then it can't be a pyramid. If it's neither a matrix nor a pyramid, then it can't be multi-level. And due to the fact that every contribution transaction is executed automatically through the smart contract protocol, which is openly recorded for everyone on the planet to see on the blockchain for themselves, Forsage cannot possibly be a Ponzi, as the automation and transparency alone defies the very definition. Are you ready to learn what Forsage technically is? Well, now that you are keenly aware to visualize the structure 3-dimensionally, the Forsage structure is simply a histogram, which is nothing more than a graphical representation of a data set over time. Or in their case, a more engaging visual way to understand the mundane contribution transaction list over time. Here's your second award, because you now understand Forsage better than 90% of its own users. If you want to see verified documentation of any transaction, simply click the link next to any contribution wallet address, and you will be taken to Tron Scan, which resides outside of Forsage, where all Tron transactions are openly recorded. This provides full transparency that every contribution truly is transmitted peer-to-peer, or contributor to campaign, and completely untouched by human interaction. Now you may be asking yourself why. Why go through all this trouble? Why not just stay with the old model, like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and GoFundMe? For one, these platforms take 5 to 8% or more out of the raised funds for themselves for providing the platform. They have total control over these funds and regulate campaigns. You need to compete with other campaigns for funds. If these platforms don't agree or like what you're raising money for, they retain the right to end your campaign at any time. If you do not raise enough interest to meet your target goal, your campaign is canceled and they return the funds, although they financially benefit from them until that point. There is also a significant cost in developing the campaign description copy and supportive materials, such as videos, graphics, data, research, business plans, and prototypes. Forsage simply came up with a better solution to crowdfunding. They built an automated system using the trusted off-the-shelf technology of Tron's smart contract protocol. They don't take a percentage for themselves. They relinquish control of the platform to its users. They'll never cancel a campaign and don't care what your funding need may be. There is also zero cost for the users, as they never have to spend all that time and money competing with others for funding. Additionally, Forsage specifically built the structures we just extensively discussed as a way to incentivize contributors to send funds to your campaign. This is the driving force and brilliance, I might add, to their crowdfunding solution. Think about it. Why would you contribute to someone's campaign? Why are you watching this video? Because someone shared Forsage with you, and you can now launch your own campaign, and no one will ever question what you're using the funds for. And why would anyone now contribute to your campaign? Because they've been informed by you that Forsage exists, and they can in turn launch their own campaign and raise funds for whatever their need, goal, or dream may be. This technically reverses the one-way street of traditional crowdfunding platforms where funding only flows into campaigns. Forsage, on the other hand, is creating a two-way street where both the campaign and contributors equally benefit. This is simply a much better solution to the hurdles of raising funds for any purpose and allows for crowdfunding to be far more widespread and viewed much differently. It's crowdfunding 2.0, where everyone benefits. And that's why it should be very clear to you now why they created these structures. When one person tells another who is otherwise unaware of this platform, the recipient of that information benefits as they can launch their own campaign. In return for sharing the platform, a supporter with the second campaign benefits the first by way of a contribution. This creates a two-way street where both campaigns benefit by helping each other in this new era of crowdfunding, where errant human decisions and centralized control are entirely removed from the process. You now understand this platform better than 95% of anyone who's ever even heard of Forsage. But to complete your mastery of this new era of crowdfunding, we need to visit one final topic. All of the technology, smart contracts, and various program structures ultimately drill down to one singular purpose: acquiring Tron to fund campaigns. The following is for illustrative purposes only. No claims, promises, or guarantees of funding are being made. We have saved you the time and effort of reading and fully understanding the marketing document released by Forsage discussed at the very beginning of this video. But one page from that PDF shows these charts, and it's very important to not get distracted by what they suggest. Technically speaking, they represent the math of funds received once you unlock all of the levels in the various X3, X4, and XGold programs. And each structure has reset once thereafter. They show each of the 15 slots, the amount of Tron required to unlock each slot, which then translates to contributions, the amount of Tron funds received once each structure has been filled and reset once, along with the associated USD value when Tron trades for 3.5 cents, as is noted at the bottom. However, by the time your campaign unlocks all 15 slots in any of these programs, the lower slots, such as 1, 2, 3, and 4, etc., will have reset multiple times. Therefore, while these charts may be fun to look at, in practice, they provide little to no benefit. We also feel they may steer you away from knowledge that is far more important to fully understand. And instead, we want you to stay laser focused on Tron. Briefly, Tron is a cryptocurrency that was launched in 2017 and had its share of initial deployment issues like many coins, but has since proven itself and has become one of the top digital currencies by filling a massive void in the crypto space of providing ultra-fast transactions with incredibly low fees. We are talking about transactions confirming in seconds for just a couple pennies. This is obviously very disruptive to traditional banking institutions, but it also puts the cryptosphere on notice that they cannot take 10 to 30 minutes to confirm a transaction at a cost of $10 to $15, as can be the case with Ethereum of late, especially if you're only trying to send $5. Why is this important for you to know? Because your campaign receives funding in the form of Tron, not fiat currency, such as the dollar, euro, yen, or ruble. These are all inflationary currencies that are quickly losing value and purchasing power, especially in this current global economic crisis. While you will certainly take some of your Tron, convert it to your country's fiat currency and spend it, you may also consider holding on to some of it. What if, over the next couple of months, the popularity of Tron drove its price up where it was trading at twice its current price? Do you think the dollar will provide twice its current purchasing power over the same time frame? Probably not, as it has lost value every year over the past century. What if Tron tripled in value? What if it traded 5 or 10 times its current price based on a broader usage stemming from its cheap and fast transactions? Tron's all-time high is 30 cents, and it currently has a market cap of over $2 billion. The point you should not overlook is that your campaign funds will certainly help with any current economic pain you may be experiencing, but also carry the potential to skyrocket in value while all other fiat currencies are crumbling. As everyone else is silently becoming more financially burdened with the loss of value in their respective fiat currencies, you will be actively acquiring tremendous amounts of Tron that will significantly alter the trajectory of your financial future. Congratulations, you've become an expert on Forsage and now possess financial insight the world is frantically searching for. It's time for you to provide a solution to the economic pain most everyone you know so desperately needs. Forsage is crowdfunding 2.0 and the economic lifeline of 2020 and beyond.